Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, you will be learning about the Git commands. Git is a command-based tool, hence to perform any task, you need to run the specific command. We will be starting with a basic command and cover all the required commands which are very frequently used by the automation engineer. Let's start with the first command, that is a git ---- version. This command is used to check which version of Git is installed on your machine. If Git is installed, then it will print the version number, else it will show the message Git command not found. If you are getting a message Git command not found, then you need to install the Git software. We have already installed Git in the previous video. So let's run this command to check its output. To run the Git commands, either you can open the command prompt or the Git bash terminal. I will be running the Git commands on the command prompt, so let me open that. To open the command prompt, I'll type cmd. Now I'll click on this command prompt app. Now let's write the git version command. I'll type git space ---- version. Now let's press the enter button. So here you can read that output git version 2.42.0.windows.2. So this is the git version installed on my machine, right? So now you can notice git version command displays the version number of git that is installed on your machine. Now let's move to the presentation to learn about the next command, that is a git init. In Git workflow video, we discussed the working directory, local Git repository and GitHub repository. We have created a GitHub repository from the GitHub website. But what about the Git local repository? You might ask how to create a Git local repository. Answer is by running the git init command. This command is used to initialize the current local folder as a Git local repository. This is the first command you will need to run to set up your Git project. Running the git init commands creates a .git folder in the directory which contains all the metadata of that repository. Once the Git local repository is initialized, then only Git will start tracking the new changes in that folder. In one of the previous video, we have already created a project in Eclipse. So let me copy the location of that project and open that in the file explorer. To view the project location, let me navigate to Eclipse. This is the project which we had created in one of the previous video. To view this project location, I will right click on this project name. In the bottom, there is option properties. So let me click on that properties. This screen shows the location of your project, right? So this project is available at this location. Next to the location, it has an arrow icon which is used to open this location in the file explorer. So let me click on this arrow icon. Alright, it has opened the project location in the file explorer. For the project, there is a folder created GitHub demo. The name of the folder is the same as the project name. This folder contains all the files of the project. So let me open that. Here you can notice we have a pom.xml file. Then we have the src folder. Inside the src folder, you will find the main and the test folders. Now you need to initialize this folder as a local repository. For that, you need to run the git init command at this location. So let me copy the folder location. So I'll right click, copy. Now I'll navigate to the command prompt. And first I need to change the location in the command prompt. So I'll type cd space. Now I'll paste the location of that folder. Now I'll press the enter button. So now you can see currently I am inside the GitHub demo project where the pom.xml file is available. Now let's run the git init command. So I'll type git space init. Now I'll press the enter button. You can read the message initialized empty git repository in this particular location. Alright, so we have successfully initialized this folder as a git local repository. Now Git will start tracking this folder for any changes. The git init commands creates a .git folder that contains all the metadata of that local repository. So let's check it. So here you can notice inside this GitHub demo folder, there is a .git folder created, right? Inside this .git folder, you can find all the metadata of this local repository. You do not need to worry about this metadata. It is internally used by the Git. So let me go back to the previous folder where the pom.xml file is available. We have successfully initialized the project location as the Git local repository. It should be noted that git init command is required to run only once for a project. Alright, so now let's move to the presentation to learn about the next command, that is git remote add origin. Now we have successfully initialized the project folder as a git local repository. Our end goal is to push the code on the GitHub repository. Now we have two repositories, one is on the local and another one is on the GitHub. We have to link these repositories with each other. When you push your code from the local repository, then Git will connect to the added GitHub repository to push the code. In order to map these repositories, we need to run git remote add origin command, where we need to specify the URL of GitHub remote repository. In one of the previous video, we have already created a repository on the GitHub. So let me navigate to GitHub and copy its URL. So this is the repository we have created in one of the previous video. The name of this repository is Learning GitHub, right? On this page, you can get the URL of this repository. There are two options. One is the HTTPS URL and second is the SSH URL. We are using SSH, right? We have already created the SSH key and configured that key in the GitHub repository. So we need to copy this SSH URL, right? So let me select it, right click and copy. Now I have copied the SSH URL for this learning GitHub repository. In order to run the command, let's navigate to the command prompt and type git remote add origin. And now I'll paste the SSH URL of that repository, right? So let me maximize this. You can read git remote add origin and this is the URL of GitHub repository. So let's press the enter button. Alright, so this command is executed successfully and now we have successfully added the remote GitHub repository with the local Git repository. Now let's move to the presentation again. As of now, we have looked at three commands which are git version, git init and git remote add origin. Now let's move to the next slide and have a look at the command git remote -v. In case you want to verify which GitHub repository is added to the local Git repository, then you can run git remote -v command. So this command will display the GitHub repositories which are added to the local Git repository, right? So let's run this command and check what information it is showing. In the previous command, which is git remote add origin, we have added this learning GitHub repository to the local repository, right? Now let's run git remote -v and press the enter button. Now let's understand the output of this command. It is showing that for this local Git repository, learning GitHub repository is mapped for fetch and push. Fetch means for pulling the data from the remote repository. Push is pushing the data from the local repository to the GitHub repository. In simple words, you can understand that Git will push the code from this local repository to the learning GitHub repository. And whenever you want to download the code on this local repository, then it will fetch the code from the learning GitHub repository. For fetching and pushing the code, it is going to use the same GitHub repository. Alright, so that's all for now. Let's meet in the next video to learn how to push the code on the GitHub repository. See you in the next video. Until then, happy learning.